All right, let's bring in our panel. Ali Safavi is a member of Iran's parliament in exile and also a member of the National Council of the Resistance on Iran. Fred Fleitz is a former NSC chief of staff for the Trump administration and a former CIA analyst. Fred, let me begin with you. Iran, I'm just stunned by how belligerent and how obnoxious they are. And it does make me at least question, do they have anything to back them up? I mean, can they somehow continue this posturing if President Trump really decides to take them on again?
Edie, those are the right questions to ask. All Iran has is this bravado in its attempts to seize the Strait of Hormuz. And the president has launched some very aggressive airstrikes to destroy its capability to do that, wiping out drone storage facilities, radar facilities. There actually are some towers that are being used to direct these drone and missile attacks. That's all being wiped out. So this is basically Iran's last stand. I do think there are elements of the Iranian regime that do want to end the war because they don't like seeing their country destroyed. But the government is divided. The Revolutionary Guard doesn't seem to care. They'll frankly go down in flames before they'll make a deal. Hopefully, this latest round of attacks by the U.S. will get the Iranians to start negotiating in good faith.
In his appearance on NBC's Meet the Press yesterday, Democrat Senator Adam Schiff made this declaration.
I'll be introducing another War Powers resolution as soon as we go back this week to try to bring that conflict to an end. But sadly, Iran has realized that it has a kind of a nuclear weapon already, and that is the ability with minimal force to close the Strait of Hormuz and to choke off a big part of the world's oil supply.
Yeah, Ali, given what we just heard from that report from Mike Carter, we're now seeing the U.S. will be the guardian of the strait, according to President Trump. Do you think that's the right move, and how long will that ultimately last with the U.S. sort of enforcing our protocols there in this time?
Well, first of all, I think that every effort must be made to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. That's an international waterway, and the Iranian regime, under no circumstances, should be allowed to exert control because, as Fred said correctly, it plans to choke the world economy with it. But that said, I believe that just focusing on the Strait of Hormuz is approaching this crisis, which goes far beyond this and also far beyond the nuclear issue, in a piecemeal fashion. I think at the end of the day, the only viable solution to the current crisis that the Iranian regime has created is to bring about the change in the regime, and of course not by foreign troops, but by the Iranian people and the organized opposition who have been working at this for a long, long time. So I think, especially now with the UK government proscribing the IRGC as a terrorist entity, a demand that we have been making for the past 40 days, publishing 14 books, making various declarations about it, that it is time for the U.S. administration to recognize the right of the Iranian people to bring about regime change and, of course, support their struggle to topple the mullahs. I think that is the solution that will bring about regional peace and security, which is what Mrs. Rajabi today said in welcoming the decision to proscribe the IRGC, that an end to this regime will bring about regional and global peace and security.
Fred, the UN ambassador Mike Waltz appeared on ABC yesterday, and he made it really clear that the Iranians will stop at nothing to see President Trump dead. Listen.
Well, I won't get into specific intelligence, but this regime, going all the way up to the Ayatollah, has plotted to kill President Trump for many years, and not only him, but many of his cabinet officials that were involved in the killing of the Iranian general Soleimani. Make no mistake that the Iranian regime is trying to kill President Trump and those around him.
Your reaction to that, because, there have been a number of people within our government that they have wanted to go after, including Mike Pompeo and John Bolton and the president. But we have seen in the funeral for the previous Supreme Commander, you saw those posters. They're being very overt about their intent.
Again, it's like all the Iranian government has. They've been trying to kill President Trump. They've been claiming this for years. And it's why they're in their predicament right now. It's why President Trump will not let this regime have a nuclear weapon. It's why the Israelis are so determined they can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Israel's view is that if a state says they want to wipe you off the map, Israel takes it seriously. And I think the U.S. should take it seriously, too. As long as the Iranian government leads their people to say things like this, it's very hard to have a negotiated solution.
Do you think they're actually leading their people to say that? Or is this because I heard so many reports from people on the ground there that said, folks were told they had to turn out to protest, to support the fallen leader, that they were given food and water, which is in desperate short supply, if they would show up, that businesses were ordered closed. So we see these huge crowds, but I don't necessarily believe that is support for the regime.
No, you're exactly right. Who made those giant signs?
Right.
Individual Iranians didn't make them. The government made those signs. We know 80% of the Iranian people despise this regime. The people showing out for these mass rallies were forced to do so, or they were induced to do so, to give them food because they're hungry.
Right.
If I may interject
yeah, please
here
go ahead,
also,
Ali.
Yeah, I completely agree with Fred. Actually, it's like 94% of Iranians oppose this regime, judging by the presidential elections that have been held over the years. Remember that Iran has been the scene of 4 major nationwide uprisings since 2017, and the constant slogan has been death to the supreme leader and death to the principle of the Vilayat Faqih, which means absolute rule of the clergy. So I think the scenes that you see on Iranian television, first of all, as you know, several major news organizations, including in Germany, said that they are AI generated, and a lot of it is fake. Secondly, the overwhelming majority of Iranians want this regime gone. That is precisely why, to your earlier question, IRGC is banging on the drums of war, because that's the only way it can keep Iranians in check. It can bring its goons to the streets and, of course, continue to execute in a dramatic way that has been unprecedented since 1988. And so in this case, I think peace would be the news for these mullahs, which is why we have said any kind of an understanding with this regime that would end the suffering of the Iranian people would certainly open up political space for the people of Iran to come out onto the streets. And in fusion with the organized resistance, the resistance units of the MEK, topple this regime and, of course, bring peace and stability to that region once and for all.
Ali and Fred, thank you very much.